So joining us today is Sheila Jenkinson. And so I met Sheila on a media trip. We went to Sioux City pretty recently. And we have very somewhat similar backgrounds as far as, like, she's in broadcasting radio for about 20 years. I'll let her introduce herself fully soon. But, like, and you know that I was, like, in the newspaper world. And just I'm venturing into podcasting now. And we both love talking about Nebraska and places in our state. So what we'll do, since this is going to be airing with Sheila's audience as well, we'll take turns introducing ourselves.
Oh, yay. Well, hello. You're listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast, where we uncover inspiring things about our community through the stories of inspiring people who call it home. I am Dee Harrell, and this is the creator of Oh My Omaha, the blog, and the blogosphere's friendliest face herself, Kim Reiner.
Hi there.
Hey, Kim.
Hey,
how are you?
Nice seeing you again.
You too.
Good. I'm kind of getting into the busy season and
Yes, busy
feeling
season.
amped.
Yeah, I'm feeling sick. My busy season's always marked by a cold.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
You too. How was the Roper romp?
Oh my gosh. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
And it was exactly, I think there was, like, I estimated about 200, and Kevin thought there was, like, up to, like, 400 women, all in these, like, red, like, wigs, curly wigs, and these, like, comfy dresses, and it was ridiculous. And I think everyone needed it. It was just like, we just dressed up for ourselves and just for fun and to laugh and just be
I loved
comfortable.
it. And Kevin was Mr. Roper.
He was Mr. Roper.
Big.
He had a plunger for a while there, and he lost it after the first stop. And
I saw some of your pictures. Were you doing Macarena at one point? Like
they did.
At
They broke out. That was at Annie's.
Was it Annie's?
Capital District.
Yeah.
And then they had a conga line going.
Hilarious.
And it was chaos for a while there. And, like, every stop we went to, it was like younger bar patrons would walk in and just be utterly confused. Like, they don't know who Mrs. Roper is or why. And they would just try to ask, and it just didn't make sense to them.
My
We're
gosh,
like, well, why not?
I wanted to ask you if, like, the holiday or the interlude were on that bar romp, because
it should be.
Yes.
This was like old market area, and I could see
those two are
classic,
like the Regal Beagle. Like, those feel very much like the Regal Beagle. Yeah. Just to go to the interlude.
Pass that advice on to the people who organized it.
I mean, right? Keep the untouched gems.
Yeah.
Those bars. I love the feeling of back in time. Ooh, Night Owl too. That would have been a very Regal Beagle.
The third place we went to was, I don't think really quite fit in.
Yeah.
It was Mo and Curly's, which I'd never been in. And it's very narrow, and they had karaoke going.
Yeah, they do.
And so it was just like all of a sudden this massive group of older women come crawling in, and they're singing. So that was fun. That was totally worth it.
Were there any Larrys? I saw that you said that there were some Chrissies.
I think there was one that was trying to be Larry, but he had like a beard.
So it didn't play.
So just some guys just in kind of 70s looking gear. But
yeah, I'm looking for some 70s gear. Goosemith in South Carolina. The theme is 1975 bingo. That's all I know.
Okay.
So I've been obsessed with looking at 70s gear. Like, I even Googled, like, movies set in 1975, and I was like, oh, so that I could reference. It's like,
right.
What a weird rabbit hole to go down.
It's all totally random, I think.
It really is. And I'm like, can I make this this rabbit hole a job of some sorts, or some weird collab to, like, research? I don't know. I've been sick, and I've had a lot of time, so I've been, just kind of on my phone.
Awesome.
Yeah. But so we're going to do something a little different.
Yes. This is exciting.
I'll let you introduce it. The less I talk right now, the better, before I cough.
Right. So joining us today is Sheila Jenkinson. And so I met Sheila on a media trip. We went to Sioux City pretty recently. And we have very somewhat similar backgrounds as far as, like, she's in broadcasting radio for about 20 years. I'll let her introduce herself fully soon. But, like, and you know that I was, like, in the newspaper world. And just I'm venturing into podcasting now. And we both love talking about Nebraska and places in our state. So what we'll do, since this is going to be airing with Sheila's audience as well, we'll take turns introducing ourselves.
Oh, yay.
Respective audiences. So, Sheila, thank you so much for coming into Omaha. Why don't you kind of tell everybody about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to do this with you guys. So my name's Sheila Jenkinson, and I am the host of Growing Small Town Nebraska podcast, which just celebrated 2 years of episodes.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was really fun to meet Kim, and I'll get back to that. But so my background, like you said, is radio. Over 20 years and 3 different radio stations, maybe 4 if you look at it too closely. But I'm from Stanton, Nebraska, and my podcast is based throughout the entire state. But if I'm local, I record in the downtown Norfolk area.
Okay.
And then I do a lot of traveling where I'll go to an area for 2 to 3 days and do anywhere from 2 to 3 podcast episodes from that area that I air later. And then I also do something called Sheila Shoutouts, where I'll highlight those small businesses, that Roper thing. Oh, I saw the pictures too. Yeah. Yes. And of course, growing up watching Three's Company.
Yes.
Yeah. But that was a lot of fun. Highlighting just fun, random things that I like. Anywhere from boutiques to restaurants, thrift stores, whatever.
Yeah.
So I do that as well. And then twice a month, it's called Foundation Fridays, and that's through the Nebraska Community Foundation, telling about stories of revitalization through the small towns in Nebraska.
Awesome.
So
She's busy.
Yeah, busy. That's
I'm busy.
Great. Yeah, very in line.
it's a good busy.
Yeah.
Good busy.
It is
though.
good busy. Yeah, you were saying about being your own boss. You worked in broadcast. Were you on air?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on morning show for 2 of those stations,
Nice.
midday for those as well. I went to part-time for many, many years while raising a family. But yeah.
You like that transition from working for a company to, like, what was that like, kind of going on your own as an entrepreneur?
So what happened was I actually wasn't in radio for a couple of years before this came to be, and I was looking to do something else. I actually got a certificate in copy editing from University of California at San Diego, and was going to just do copy editing, kind of lay low for a while. And then in the middle of those classes, those 5 semesters of intense, oh, hey, I'm old and I'm online taking classes, kind of, somebody said, we should start a podcast. So I had a partner in the beginning of this, and it was her idea, and she left in April. But so my son said to me at one point, what's it like to be doing radio, but like doing radio, but for yourself? And it's pretty fabulous.
Yeah, on
right?
your
Yeah.
terms.
Yeah. I get to control the narrative and pick the stories that I want to do. And anybody who's in the broadcast world knows that when you're on air, that's not the case. And it's fun. It was great fun. But this is even more fun. So here we go.
Nice. Your voice is very soothing. I can definitely hear it come over the airwaves.
That's funny. So somebody told me that recently, and I asked if I could record them and say that to my husband, but now we just did. So
That's
thank
amazing.
you.
I mean, it's prophetic of me, wasn't it?
Right? Thanks,
Yeah.
Dee. I appreciate
You're
that.
so welcome. Nobody tells me my voice is soothing. I don't have a very soothing voice.
It is soothing.
Oh.
I mean, maybe not today.
Maybe it's just
No.
the sultry, cold voice coming out right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So for my listeners, since we're sharing this together, I would love to hear about each of you and introduce both of you to our audience as well.
So,
I'll let Kim go first.
I'll go first. So yeah, I'm Kim Reiner, and I started Oh My Omaha in 2013, and that it kind of grew out of my earlier days I worked in print journalism. I was in a newspaper, and when I was switching career paths, I wanted to still write about this area. I did arts and entertainment for a long time.
Fun.
And I loved going to the shows and knowing about all these events happening, these exhibit openings, but I loved taking my kids to them. And so on my terms, I wanted to start this blog where I can take them with me and I could tell people, these fun things. It's totally fine to bring your kids to. It doesn't sound like a kid thing, but it's suitable for kids. And so it grew from this blog into kind of part blog, travel blog, because I also wanted to be a travel writer. So that was like my big dream. And now this is kind of settled into like a 50-50 world. And so we started this podcast about March of this year, so March 2024. And it's been a learning experience because I'm more of a writer and And so like I'm growing into the talking.
It's good for you.
It is like it's like so like for the longest time I did my day job was like public relations, and I would have to speak, but it was fine speaking for somebody else and from some other organizations. And now it's all me, and it's great.
Yeah.
So Dee, before we get to you real quick, Kim, I have been following Oh My Omaha for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so when we met on that fam trip through Explore Siouxland, I was really excited to meet you, and I'm like, oh, it's another Nebraska.
Yeah. There's, when I started out, it seemed like quite a few, but it's kind of dropped off, and it's just like
we'll bring them back.
Keep going.
We'll bring them back.
Yeah. I'm a little biased. I loved your stuff too, but I love her, so it worked out great. Oh gosh. Well, I do not have a blog. I am lucky to be a part of this, because Kim asked me to. Kim and I have known each other for a really long time. Her husband and I worked together at an agency here in town for years, and he's one of my good friends. And he met Kim, and she and I have been friends ever since. We ran our first marathons together. We just, I won't go into too many details on that, but I am a consummate entrepreneur. I am a highly educated, starving artist of sorts. But I've done, I love them. I'm a transplant. I'm from Toronto, and I moved here in 2000. And I had my kids here. I've worked in creative. I've worked in healthcare. I've worked in education. I have, my constant is I'm a producer and a hair and makeup artist commercially. And, I'm a very extroverted introvert. I don't know if I'm introvert. Wait, I'm mostly extroverted. Let's just
right.
We'll call it what it is.
So when Kim was starting this, she's like, I was really flattered because her and Kevin were talking about it, and they asked, she asked if I wanted to help co-host because they're like, you need somebody who's really extroverted to help with this cause, and they were just
the energy up because I could be really low key and like
I was like, yeah, let's do it. So
you didn't want to be the podcast that people fall asleep to,
right? I'm like, it could be soothing, but I need somebody like kind of work things up.
Oh, it was so fun. Episode 2 is a good drinking game, by the way. I keep telling every time I say 100%, just drink if you watch episode 2. So just plugging that one. But it's been great. Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride. I love it.
Absolutely. So, why don't we just dig in, start asking questions? So, my first question was going to be the evolution of how you got to be growing Small Town, the podcast. So, for 2 years now, you've been speaking to people and visiting towns. What have been places or people that have kind of stuck with you that you think about or you mention to people continuously, and why?
So every person I talk to sticks with me because I am a people person. I love to hear other people's stories and find out kind of what they do, what their passions are. As far as places, Potter, Nebraska. Have either of you been to Potter?
No, but I want to because of the Potter Sundry is there, right?
Yes. And it has the tin. It's the home of the Tin Roof Sundae.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's where I'm like,
and you get you can get a mini.
Okay.
And people act like they can't eat the mini. I ate my mini. I ate the whole thing. And I did not feel sorry about it at all. But yes, that's one of the things in Potter. But it is a tiny little town out in western Nebraska, close to Sidney, Nebraska. And by golly, if you couldn't spend probably a week there doing all of the great things in this tiny little town.
Okay.
Yeah. They have like duck pin bowling. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
Dee?
Yeah, I do, which is so strange, but yes, I have. It's so fun. It is so fun.
It is.
Yeah.
It's different.
It's small.
Yeah, it's a small ball. You don't stick your fingers in.
It's a 5-pin.
Yeah.
Right? 5-pin?
Oh, I think the one that we played on
10 still,
They're like it's like a shorter lane, but I think
might have been
still
7.
Like 10.
It might be 7. No, I think it's under 10 because
right.
you don't. It's a small ball. It's like
It's heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy.
And so you roll this thing. I'm actually a fairly decent bowler, but I couldn't do this. But it was very fun. And then you go, like in this one, you walk down and you set up your own pins.
Yeah.
And you walk back up and you do it again. Fun. And so there's that. There's Flyover Brewing Company.
Oh, yes.
You've heard of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you visited?
No, I have not.
Yeah, there are 2 locations for that, but one is in Potter.
Okay.
And, of course, attached to that is a coffee shop. Mm-hmm. So you've got that. They've done great work through revitalization in their library, and I won't go on, but that is a place that sticks out to me.
Good to know.
Yeah. So how about you? I mean, you're highlighting Omaha, but not just Omaha.
No, so occasionally we do like to talk about our day trips and weekend trips from here. And for me, like one of my favorite like small towns of Nebraska that I continually visit is Brownville. And just because I think the first time we went, it was so surprising, just because it was they had so many bookstores at the time, and there's fewer bookstores now, but it was like a town that was so small and it had way too many bookstores for that size of a town, but then they also had like...
I'm sorry,
theater.
Did you say way too many bookstores? I don't
know if it's possible.
No.
They have an unfair amount per capita,
there we go.
I'd say, where it's like, I'm jealous, where it's like, oh, this is wonderful. And so they just have... just in a compact area, like they have a winery and an ice cream shop, and then these cute shops, and just and then they have all these wonderful events all year. And
so I haven't been there yet.
No,
I haven't.
Been to Brownville?
No.
And they have like to stay. They have a riverboat that's been converted into kind of a hotel of sorts that you could stay on the riverboat, and it's just kind of like it could be a day trip from Omaha, but I like the overnight trip kind of thing because it's cool. Yeah. You got like a bike trail. We never got to bike the bike trail, but it's cool. That's been my repeated, like I always tell people about just Brownville. It's seriously, it looks like a Hallmark movie sometimes. Like we went in the fall one time and it was just like, is it?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's awesome.
Kind of like in the Gilmore Girls, I'm always looking for Stars Hollow.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. So my boyfriend went to law school in Vermont, and there's been many a times where we just watched the beginning of Gilmore Girls just to reminisce about the area. But you know, it's far from here. But yes, Gilmore Girls, it's picturesque.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's one of your favorites, Dee?
I am an old market, like, just lover. I still, I lived in the old market for a very long time, but now that I moved out, I make it a point to have at least one day. I'm trying to per week to just, I'll work from downtown and walk, and I'll have coffee in one shop and then go get coffee in another. And the little pockets and the oddities, and even the stores I've gone to a gajillion times, which I have, I still will spend like an hour in there just sifting through things. Like I just, the old market is just speaks to me. I just love it so much. Yeah.
I love it too. So I actually lived in Omaha for a while. Yeah. I moved here just out of college, and I interned at WWT Channel 6 here in Omaha for my first internship. And the old market area, again, it's kind of like it's out of a movie. It's a whole different feel than a lot of other places.
I love it.
And I feel like a lot of places have tried to replicate that, and it's okay. And they put their own spin on it, but it's never quite the same as the old market in Omaha.
No, there's an energy that's even with the revitalization. I was definitely one of the ones who was like, please don't tear down the library. Please do not touch the Jean Leahy Mall. Like I loved the concreteness and the swans that were there. But what they've done, that whole revitalization of the riverfront has just been awesome, and it's a great sense of pride too. I was lucky enough to be part of the Jean Leahy Mall part of it for the sculpture installation, or the sculpture garden installation, when I was with Kaneko. But I honestly, seeing that transformation has just been so great. But you're right. There is an energy that you just can't replicate it. It's so, I don't know. I really do love the energy down there.
Mm-hmm. So in your travels, what are some downtown areas that you do like? Like, when I travel writing, and I feel like in Iowa, I've come across a lot of amazing, just small downtown areas. And in Nebraska, I'm searching for those, and I'm not finding the match. So where would you say that this place has a charming downtown area?
Gosh, there are a lot of charming downtowns in Nebraska. I would say one of them would be Ord.
Okay. You know what? I was there this past, was it May? Like, not this past May, but the May before.
Was it for Junk Shot? Oh.
No, but I should. Like, that's one place, that's one thing that I've missed so far, but we just were passing through, coming back from, where did we stay? Near Taylor.
Oh,
and we're passing through. Yeah. We had dinner. We had lunch with family in Ord. So I was like,
there's Burwell is out there.
Burwell, that's kind of close to where we were. Yeah,
that's another one. It's kind of a fun downtown.
Nice coffee shop, yeah.
Yes,
like
the hub.
The coffee shop, yeah.
Yeah, we just did that. I have my sister Deb here with me today. We just did that as a sister's trip, and we visited the hub for sure. But those two downtowns, and there are more like that. David City's another one. They have the squares.
Yeah.
So they, going back to the Gilmore Girls, like they have the square and there's either like a courthouse on there or a pavilion. There are different things. And then all these nice shops around the perimeter, places to eat, bars. And I just think, I find that kind of charming.
Yeah.
I grew up in Plainview, Nebraska, and the downtown there is starting to definitely show some renovation and rebuilding that they're going through. But it was kind of more that straighter downtown.
Yeah.
And so the square idea was new to me, you know.
I love squares.
I do too.
I went to school in Savannah, Georgia, so the squares was like, it's just a pocket of different neighborhood. Every single square you go down till you get to the river. Yeah, that's a great architectural or, I guess, city design. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Really different. Okay. Yeah. So what are some of your favorite areas that you guys have seen in your travels as far as maybe the downtown or maybe, you know, we talk a lot about downtowns, maybe outside of that downtown.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so it's been a while since I've been out there, but out near the Shattern area, I was impressed with just the pocket of, and I guess it's considered downtown area. The Bean Broker in Shattern, I think.
I haven't been to Shattern for years.
Cool little
it's on my list again.
Restaurant. It was like a coffee shop by day, and by night it was more of a bar entertainment venue where it was just, we were out there, Kevin was shooting, so then I had to go find some place to hang out. And so I was just like, ooh, I like this little place. And it's right near like natural beauty. Like I love that.
And Fort Robinson is close.
Fort Robinson, exactly.
Yeah.
So we stayed there and wanted to make it to Fort Robinson. And in Shattern State Park. And I'm trying to think. Nebraska City is always a good one, and that's a popular one for Omaha people to get to because it's super close. And I feel like they're starting to kind of revitalize their downtown area too, because I think it's a huge opportunity. Like people come down there and they'll go to like Arbor Day Farm area or Kimmel Orchard, and then they'll want to find a place to eat or to shop. And I think that they have the keeping room down there. Have you been to there?
Yes, I have.
And
Nebraska City was one of the first tourism trips with the podcast.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm like, you know, there's just, I think there's room to grow there.
Yeah, and there are a lot of great places to stay. The Lead Lodge, I haven't stayed there, but it's amazing.
Yes.
And then Whispering Pines Bed and Breakfast. I spent time. Yes.
Okay,
yes. I didn't want to leave. It was hard for them to get me out of there, but like a wraparound front porch and the grounds there are just beautiful.
Okay.
But yeah, Nebraska City is thriving, I think. And their tourism department does a great job promoting it, and they have so many events.
They
you
do.
know.
Yeah. They do.
You know, one of the things I like about the Omaha area is in I just forgot the name. La Vista. And they're downtown, the Papillion La Vista area, and all the lights strung around.
Yeah, the Winter Wonderland. It's this Saturday.
Yes, Graylee's ice cream.
Yes, that's a cute shop.
There's a new bar opening.
Oh,
I live in Papillion. I moved
nice.
there in the spring, but a new bar. It's called Goose's. It's right on Main Street. It's just opening this Friday.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're starting to build that back up, I think.
Yeah.
I brought a friend, and we went when it was decorated for Christmas, and she was just
Beautiful.
in awe.
Yeah. Downtown Pavilion's great. That little strip, they really do love the lights. But yeah, my favorite spots are like the outskirts of places. Like I spent a lot of time in North Platte. for a campaign, and I got to learn a little bit of like some of the places that the locals go, and it's kind of like a film noir kind of moment where I'm like, oh, I really love the scene of this like tiny little gas station where all the old timers go from like the surrounding cities. They meet there every morning and have coffee, and then some of them will come in later. They'll play like pitch or like rummy, right? But it's this tiny little like nothing gas station that has excellent coffee, and it's at the base of this hill, and it's like there's nothing but like it draws all of these people, and I'm always like fascinated with those kinds of places. Like, how did this come to be? How did you and they're prominent. Some of them are government officials. Some of them are heads of all these things, and they all just come every morning to this tiny gas station. And those are the things that I love. Or like Ponca. I love like the places where set for adventure hike kind of situation. But yeah,
Ponca's beautiful. Love
Ponca is beautiful. Oh, people think of Nebraska as being so flat or expansive if they've never been here, and it's so not. Like, even the city of Omaha, everyone's like, there's so many hills here. Like,
no, and I love what we're doing here together because, yes, Omaha and Lincoln are fantastic, but you also got to explore the rest of the state.
Yep. Right.
It's a big state.
It's a big state.
So, Kim, with Oh My Omaha, what is your main mission behind it now? You know, things kind of change and evolve as you move forward.
Right. So now, so that is a great question. Like, it's kind of redefining, because before it was always kind of a parent's guide to exploring Omaha and then traveling with your kids. And now that my kids are teenagers now, it's not so much trying to tell people how to plan around nap time for these things or these trips. And so it is evolving. Fortunately, like, my daughter's still young at heart, and so like she's all for any kid activity where like I'm like, do you want to go just see this, like Santa's gonna be there and we'll just go do I'm a sucker for like holiday lights and stuff still, and like she's all for it. So there's still a bit of that, and I think I was always exploring outside of Nebraska a lot, because I think tourism offices like the idea of bringing people from out of state. And when I would try to approach people about exploring here in Nebraska, I think people were a little reluctant, like, well, I don't know if Omaha's going to come out here or whatever. And I'm like, well, yeah, they will. Like, if you just kind of, you got to tell them about, like, if you just say, come out to western Nebraska, you got to kind of explain more why. And it takes going out there and, like, showing the pictures, showing videos, like, just showing these are some great things to do. And so little by little, I've been trying to plan these trips to go to deeper into Nebraska and show people. And I think it's more well received now that if people from Nebraska aren't proud and telling people about the cities to go visit within the state, then who is going to? You need to, like, kind of build that ambassadorship here, and then people from outside of the state will start coming in when people are excited about their own state. Because for the longest time, people are like, there's nothing to do in Nebraska. And it's like, no, I know there's got to be stuff to do in Nebraska. And
yeah, so we created that narrative ourselves, okay? And that was generations of people saying there's nothing to do here. And I think so much of tourism and travel and revitalization is in the timing. And the timing right now is perfect, because people are seeing the vision beyond the bigger cities, beyond, stay in your little pocket. And I think the tourism boards are on board now, the economic developers, the visitors bureaus, and the people in the communities who are working so hard to build them up so that their families can come and live there. Because now you can work from anywhere, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's helped, like, with Nebraska-curious having, like, the passport program, and it's getting people excited. Like, they've gamified exploring the state. Like, go check out these little, like, you might just go stop in one town just to see this shop, but you might just hang out and you might notice something else around there. And so I would like to promote Nebraska more in that
Do
direction.
it.
Because
I'll help you.
Because I feel like I know a lot of travel writers who've got some other states are very well represented in the travel writing community, and Midwest travel writers. That's how we met, through the Midwest Travel Writing Network. They are great about promoting all these small towns that people might not be top of mind, because when they think of a Midwestern state, just a handful of cities come to mind, the big cities. And I've been doing this for like 11 years, and some of the coolest experiences have been in these smaller towns, or even like outside of those smaller towns, like staying in a cow barn in the middle of rural Iowa has been pretty. We still talk about it. And in Kansas, stopping at like a brewery in a town of like 200 people, and it's the meeting place of everybody, and how like this craft brewery has brought in farmers to embrace craft brewing, and it's neat. So I'm just like, Nebraska could do that too, and is doing it.
Yeah. So when we talk about the Midwest Travel Network and all of that, one of the interesting things is actually that I completely lost my train of thought. That is one of the fascinating things there. No. So you were talking, and I had such a thing that I was going to expand on with the travel writing and the bloggers,
and I like that now that you started bringing podcasters.
Yeah, podcasters. Yeah. I felt like I was kind of one of the only ones in the travel network.
I haven't, in all the trips, I haven't had like a podcast.
Yeah, and they had me sit on a panel, and there are other people that kind of do that. And now, like, you've started the podcasting.
Yeah.
And one of the things that is neat about our industry, and I think if people embrace it across the board with whatever we're doing, it's okay to share those tips and tricks and not be afraid of promoting someone else.
Oh, yeah.
I think I love doing collaborations.
Yeah.
I think it's a win-win when you promote one another and share with each other's listeners what's going on. I'm not afraid to answer those questions, and I love to help people out. And I feel that with the Midwest Travel Network and that group.
Absolutely,
a lot. So I do appreciate that.
Because there's always somebody new, and they always want to, if they can avoid making mistakes, like ask people. And I've always been like of the mind, and when we were talking to Kincaid Brewery,
I was just going to say the same thing.
And he was talking about how it's not a competition among craft brewers. Like, they're not your competition. It's like, you just say Netflix, like getting people out of the house.
Right.
It's not just like, you don't want to best the brewery down the block. It's, you guys are together, and that's how travel writing, I've always felt, they're a very welcoming group. And like, no matter what like conference I go to, like there's some that people are just more of an international travel, and then I'm like, I'm Midwest focused, and it's totally fine. And it's just everybody rises with the tide sort of mentality. And
so one of the exciting things about the Midwest Travel Network, and you're talking about promoting Nebraska, is that their conference this year in 2025 is going to be in Grand Island, Nebraska.
Cool.
And that's a big get. Like,
That
I think
is.
that's been.
So you got all these content creators coming into our state.
Yeah.
And that is just a plus.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It is.
So in your neck of the woods of Nebraska, tell us about some of your favorite places. Either like, where do you go to have like a family celebration, or where do you go to be out in nature? What are your favorite spots?
So I love the Niobrara and Verdigris area and up at the Missouri, by the Missouri River. Well, so it's confusing because there's the Niobrara River there and there's the Missouri River. Both are very beautiful. But, you know, you can be up there and you're right next door to South Dakota. You just drive over that big bridge there and you're into South Dakota. It's kind of my happy place and my go-to place to calm down and get away from the noise and the hustle and bustle. It's a work spot for me because I can throw a line in and be fishing and working at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
No, you can't. That's awesome.
So our entire family loves to enjoy that area. And one of our favorite places in Norfolk, as far as my little family, would be Kings Lanes, because they also have the arcade there, they have the bowling, and they have the movie theater.
Oh, nice.
And we love to do all three.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a thing. So yeah,
Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I love that area. It's beautiful up there.
That's actually like, so Niobrara State Park is on my, like, I still need to go visit that place and explore. So,
well, tell me.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll let you know
I'll
when I'm up
explore
there.
with
Yeah.
you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll show you some of the favorites. And I just recently went on a little bus trip. Well, no, that was a different one, but through Knox County. I got to speak to their Knox County leadership. And one of the things they did was tour the powwow grounds for the Ponca tribe. I've been going up there for years. I did not even know it was there. And they do a big powwow now every summer, and they do other events there. And so it's another way to dive in and check out a different culture than what I'm familiar with. And here I've been up near that culture all these years.
Yeah.
And so it's eye-opening and fun to see those historical things.
And so it's cool to find something like just been under your nose and you're like,
Yeah.
this is new. It's
Yeah.
not new, but it's new to me.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah.
I felt like, I should have known that, but I didn't. But now I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now
we all
people
know.
will know.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. You know, it's funny being I am a transplant, but I've lived here for about as long as I did when, back home. But there is something exciting about thinking, like, promoting Nebraska. There's and just like we were speaking about the old market, there's an energy to Nebraska that and I've lived all over. It's unlike a lot of places. There's a fan base of support for not just sports, but for all things Nebraska. There is a level of pride that is just inherent in the people that inhabit the state, and you see it obviously for Husker football, it's easier for us to see, but like when I'm in Chicago and meeting friends at a Husker bar in Chicago,
Right.
or in Kentucky, or
There's one in Branson.
Atlanta, right? Like there's something about the fact that there's that spirit that travels, and there is such a pride. So I think you're right about that timing thing. I think we are in this really cool space of just like, no, we're good, we're great. Like people come here, let's bring all of these professional sports here. We're going to do awesome, which they did. I think I read like Omaha-based professional sports have won like 4 championships this year. Like it's a really, really cool thing, and to build on the, I guess that communalness of the entire state is awesome, the way that you do it, and that you make it feel so attainable and so reachable, and everybody's like, yeah, let's go visit this place. It's not that far, and it just takes them going once and being like, oh, like, why haven't I been doing this before? Like, I hear it all the time when people coming from West Omaha to downtown, like, they're like, we never used to come downtown. Now we come down all the time. It's such an easy drive. Well, yeah, it's super easy.
Guys, it's right there.
It's just a matter of doing it, right? And I think both of you, give such a voice, or make it seem so doable. And people you're right. It's just like letting people know. It's really fun. It's not just the destination. It's like there are those little pockets in between that you can stop and visit, even to Lincoln. You can stop at you can stop in, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to pronounce everything.
Ashland.
Ashland.
Is a spot.
And then the cloister, or what is it? The cloisters?
I haven't been to the cloisters.
The glass.
Oh, that's the Holy Family
But it's
Shrine.
on the way to the cloister.
Yeah,
right.
it's
The shrine,
Have
and
you
then the
been there?
cloisters.
No.
And then
It's beautiful.
But like that whole
it's right
strip.
off of I-80.
Yeah.
kind of.
Okay.
It's that big glass. I can't even think.
It is a. I mean, it looks like a church, and
church.
it's Catholic, I believe, but like there's no actual services held there. It's more of just kind of a meditation place,
Oh,
spiritual
okay.
area, spiritual place to visit.
Kind of like Trinity Heights in Sioux City, or Explore Siouxland a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous architecture.
Huh,
You
we'll
have
have to
to-
check that out.
But seriously, that trip, there's just Sac Museum, Shram,
Mahoney,
Shram Park?
yeah, then
Shram State Park.
Ashland, and cloisters, and the shrine, and
Life
then
Safari.
literally,
I'm gonna go glamping. I'm gonna go glamping out in Ashland soon. Actually,
Cool.
I'm excited.
That's
Next
on my
year,
list. That's on my
I'm
list.
staying in a dome. Like I've never done the dome.
Oh, like a
thing.
yurt?
Ooh.
Is it a
Oh,
yurt?
like a
Well, it's not a
geodome.
yurt, so it's like
I wanna stay
there's
in
like
a
a
yurt.
kitchen. There's a kitchen, and there's actually like a loft, so it's almost like it doesn't look like it should be able to fit so many people and stuff. And it's-
So it is kind of a yurt.
well, when I stayed in a yurt, it was like it was a step between the cabin and tent camping.
Oh,
So it was still like There was some electricity, but there was no like running water or anything.
Got
it. And
now we know. I did not really know what a yurt was.
I think there might be some yurts
like
that
the
are
word.
more outfitted. I know. I'm like, I want to stay in a yurt.
Yeah.
When that opportunity came up, I'm like, yeah. And then I realized I kind of like it a little cushier.
Yeah.
Like I like glamping, where it's like, okay, I'm still in nature, but the bed is comfortable.
I feel like I'm aligned with that as well.
Like I've learned, like for the longest time, we would try to go camping with the kids, and I'm just realizing it's in my head that I should be like that.
It's romanticized.
But it's not.
Yeah. And then you get there and you're like, why are there ants here? Things
I like parks. I like state parks and stuff, but I like the cabins.
Mm-hmm.
But what was I going to say? So speaking of like staying in cool places. So if we're trying to get people to go out and explore these towns and parts of Nebraska, have you stayed in any places that are, maybe you mentioned Whispering Pines, right? Nebraska City. What are other places where if you threw it out there and people wouldn't stay there, they'd be more willing to go out and explore around there?
Oh, in my travels now, I get put up wherever they decide to place me. But I know there's a New Orleans hotel.
I have seen.
And I haven't stayed there yet.
Yeah.
We should go there. We should go together.
Definitely. Like, that's not Broken Bow, is it? Or do you? Sorry. Or do you?
Let her recover. I stay in a lot of Airbnbs when I go, or they'll put me in a hotel, or so. I always tell them, when you bring me in, put me where you want me to showcase, because it's part of the story. So, yeah.
I mean, there's some neat things. Like,
how about you?
So when we stayed out in northwestern Nebraska, we stayed at Shattern State Park in a cabin, and those are pretty. The one we were at was pretty rustic. I wanted to stay at Fort Robinson.
So I have stayed at Fort Robinson, and I stayed there years ago with my mom. She was executive secretary for the Highway 20 Association.
Oh.
So I traveled with her as well a little bit when she did that. And so we stayed out there. And then my husband and I, for our honeymoon, we just jumped in his truck and we drove west. And we stayed in Nebraska. And that is as far as we got, as far as that far west. And we stayed there.
Did you stay in like an officer quarter thingy, or in one of the historic buildings?
It was like the barracks. It's like like a lodge now or whatever. But there was no air conditioning. I don't know if they've updated that. So there was no air conditioning. It was kind of hot, but it was really neat to stay there. And then there were all these things you could do right there as well. With Shadron State Park and Fort Robb, you've got like the Jeep tours out there.
Yes, those were neat. We did one of those like off-road Jeep tours, and the kids were really little, so it was just like amazing to them that it was like open air tour of like on these rocks and everything, and they were just thrilled by it.
Yeah, I've stayed in the cabins at Mahoney State Park. I've stayed in the cabins at Ponca. Calamus, our family went, our whole family went, and we stayed in the ginormous one that you can fit almost our whole family in. I think some stayed in another cabin, but I always think cabins at state parks and places like that, because you're staying there and you've got all that space, but you have all the activities to do right there. So
I am a fan of those. We stayed at, and I don't know if they're still open, so Bootleg Brewery closed. And that's in Taylor. But they had cabins.
Oh, it did? I did not know that.
Yeah.
Sad. Okay.
And they had cabins on the property. And so we stayed at one of those cabins where it was just like, it was beautiful out there. And then you could just walk down to the brewery, and they had like root beer and root beer float. Like I think they had root beer floats that the kids got to have. And I'm like, that's smart, because it's like, it's removed from any part of town. And so just
I drove out there with one of my sisters, and I'm like, where exactly are we going? Because it feels like we're going nowhere right now. But
so that's nice to do. That's the thing where I want to plan these trips, and my dream thing would be to do a Nebraska passport road trip and knock a bunch off, and I've never been able to plan like a good week to do it, or probably even longer than a week. And I watch some of I have a friend that I used to work with, and she's retired now, and every summer she does it with a group of girlfriends. And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Yes.
So maybe I just have to wait until I'm retired to do.
It's fun. We should go together, and then we can just knock some things out at the same time. But that's part of what I do with this podcast. whether it's in Nebraska, and I also travel out of the state now some as well with Growing Nebraska and Beyond, but is, I'll go in and concentrate on that area for a while, but then I'm usually driving to that location. So I take time and I stop here and there, and I'm finding those little places for the shout outs as well. And I only have a little bit of time. But then, of course, the hope is to go back and see more. But there's so much to do in Nebraska. People say, are you worried about running out of content? Oh, no, I am not in the least.
Yeah.
Nebraska is a big state.
Yeah.
We're bigger than some countries. So,
right. And
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, so like one of my most viral Instagram post ever was a random quick stop in Minden, Nebraska. Like I was coming back from Kansas, and I'm like, I've never gone to Harold Warp's Pioneer Village. So I'm like, I'm just going to go, and I've got a little bit of time, and walked around, and I was just astounded that they had exhibits of...
You don't know from looking at it on the outside.
No.
Till you go in.
Super large, and they've got like just pretty much warehouses of things stored, and they had stuff by decades. They had like a kitchen and a living room, and I saw the 1980s on display, and so I felt old. And
you're like, I don't need to see it. I lived it. I
made a video. I'm like, we're vintage, and that did really well. And so I'm like, these little quick stops. Sometimes you find very great content and reasons to come back.
Yeah, so Minden was one of the earlier episodes we did. It's known as the Christmas town.
Oh.
And so...
Have you been during Christmas?
I have not been there. They sent us pictures, and it looks stunning.
Yeah.
And so... And then the Pioneer Village, they have a new executive director.
Oh.
And they're doing a lot there. They're very excited about some renovations and some ideas they have there. So revisit it, because it'll probably be different. That's the other thing about content. Is because you go there once doesn't mean there's not going to be new things or things have changed or weird random events like the Roper thing.
Yeah. So cool.
I hope it expands. Just have Roper events throughout different towns in Nebraska. Right. There we go.
I would have had to gone as Chrissy.
Yeah. There was my friend wasn't with us, and she's got this long blonde hair, and she had the Mrs. Roper wig, and I'm like, I thought you would be Chrissy.
Yes.
You strike me as a Chrissy, not a Roper.
Awesome. The pictures were great. And Kafkins. Just how comfy.
I'm like, I'm an inner golden girl. Like, this was just hilarious. Like, I was in my element. And people are like, you do look like that. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, right? How do I take that?
Compliments? Okay. That's awesome. Yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions, or should we?
Well, so I think we each have kind of a final question, right? So I guess for you guys, let me just, I kind of rephrase it for growing Nebraska and beyond. And that is, what is one thing that you would say about growing Nebraska and beyond? What is something visionary that you can share with others about that?
For me, like I just encourage people to be just curious, and so when you're driving, like if you're on a road trip, get off the interstate and just kind of let your curiosity kind of guide you. Of like if you happen to see a shop, and just pull over and check it out. Like I've just come across the cutest boutique shops of in these small towns, and it's just because I was like, I wonder what that is what's going on in there, and just hopping in and finding something really neat. And so for me, it's just kind of pad your schedule when you're traveling. So just kind of stop when
take some time
when the feeling kind of pulls you.
Yeah, road trips. I think my answer is very similar to yours. But also, I like talking. I'm a people person too, and so when I travel, I'm in the airport or whatever. I usually have something Nebraska that I'm repping, right, in some way, shape, or form, and a lot of times the people I'm talking to, I travel a lot for music or for filming things, and so a lot of them are very open, like they've already heard about the growing expansion of Omaha's music scene or whatnot. But I try to strike. I think that helps to getting excitement to grow, more tourism in the space. But yes, within here, stop. Go off the beaten track, track. My cold medicine's just fogging my brain. But I do too. I like oddities. I like if I see like an oddity shop of like random collectibles and whatnot, those are the places I love to stop in. But yeah, I'm with you on that.
Oddities. And I didn't think of myself as like a world's largest anything kind of person to stop for. And the more that I start planning it on my trips, and the more I'm just like, I think I like the strange stuff. And so,
I still have to see the easel. I swear, I'm like, it's on a list. I have to see that
so like
easel.
In northwestern Kansas, I did a fam trip. And so one of the stops, and Dee just couldn't believe that this existed, was like a giant easel with a Van Gogh painting on it. Oh, and it is enormous. I think it's in Goodland, Kansas, I want to say.
Oh my gosh, I have to go to it.
I've been to the actual Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam.
Me too, actually.
Yes,
so
wow. Here it
is.
This
is a very random giant. It's huge, and it's hard to get a good picture of it. I'm just like,
I so want to go. She said it, and I was like, what? I had no idea it even existed. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
in Kansas, I've stopped at we've been brought to the world's largest ball of twine, and then the world's largest museum of the world's largest in miniature.
Oh,
I said it correctly, where it's the miniature of all these world's largest stuff.
Amazing.
And I'm like, why not? Now I think I like this stuff. So it's let your curiosity and embrace the odd.
Yeah.
So for my listeners, before you get back to me here, how do they find you, follow you, listen to you, all the stuff?
Yeah. So I'm Oh My Omaha on all the platforms.
Perfect.
I'm most active on Facebook and Instagram, but
YouTube. This is on Hurrdat One.
Right. Hurrdat One Network has all of our videos. And then we're anywhere where you get your podcasts.
Yeah.
You can get Oh My Omaha, the podcast.
Perfect.
Just try to keep that name simple, hopefully to remember.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right. So our final question we ask everybody, and I wonder if we'll maybe do a 2-part question so that we always ask everybody, where do you find inspiration in Omaha? And so I'm curious, you've lived here and you've been here, if you have any inspiring places, but also in your neck of the woods, where do you find inspiration?
Okay. So in Omaha, as I lived here, there are several places. The Old Market is always going to be a favorite for me as well. The Henry Doorly Zoo, I had not been. We used to go every year, and then we fell out of that somehow. And so we went this year, and my kids are grown, and we enjoyed it just as much, but with different eyes. And so there's that. The Lauritzen Gardens is always a gem.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people I've said to, have you been to the Lauritzen Gardens? No, where's that? What do you mean, where's that?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, so it's a big one, and the displays change. So there's no reason not to visit it often. And in my neck of the woods, I would say I find my inspiration everywhere I go. And the revitalization efforts that have swept through northeast Nebraska and Norfolk, Nebraska in particular. Visit Norfolk, Nebraska area. They do a great job promoting the events and all of the great new businesses that are there. But it's really part of the inspiration of the podcast is seeing the tremendous growth in what I call not your mama's downtown. Because I grew up in the area.
Yeah.
And it is not like what it was when I lived around there and thought, oh no, I'm not going to, why would I stick around here? That's not the attitude anymore. These small towns, not just Norfolk, but throughout the state, are a great place for people to live and work and play and grow and thrive.
I have not explored Norfolk yet. I haven't written about it. I haven't.
We should go.
Oh, you got to do it.
Yeah.
I'll be your tour guide.
Yeah.
We'll get Visit Norfolk involved, and we'll get it done.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
soon.
Yeah, I'm like, I have.
Yeah.
Before it gets cold and nasty.
I was certain I had. I thought I stopped at least once and for a passport stop, but I hadn't.
It's changed.
How are you guys?
It's changed so much. It used to be a drive around town or drive through town. It is now hey, let's stop and play here a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could do a second part of this.
For sure.
We'll
Well, you can come do that at the studio where I use
Awesome.
there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Intersect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on to the
Thank
show.
you.
So much.
you guys
And I
can
love your
meet.
jeans.
Oh, thank you. Thrift store.
Right.
You can probably hear where I got them on one of the podcasts.
Cool.
awesome.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thanks for listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast. We want to thank our guest, Hurrdat Media, all of you for your support, and the Omaha community at large.
So from Dee and I, keep on exploring.